Namaste, everybody. Welcome to your class of Teachers of the Heart. For those of you that haven't met me before or we haven't been able to connect before, my name is Prema. Doug and I have created this course and Sacred Wisdom School as an effort to share the things that we have learned, uh, the path that evolves as we continue to grow and learn together. And it is our passion to be able to share this with all of you and to be also part of the journey that you're having. We feel, or I feel very honored that you're able to trust us and join us and be willing to walk with us during these weeks. So first of all, I wanted to express my gratitude to each and every one of you for that. I feel very honored to receive your trust and your support. A practical thing I wanted to talk about before we begin, because I don't think Doug shared with you on Sunday, is we have been trying to find the best way to share these courses with everybody. Our passion is to be able to make spiritual wisdom or inner growth wisdom accessible for everyone. And we've been having some try and runs with different systems. And as of now, this seems the system that seems to be closest to our heart. And we call it heart-based reciprocation. So that means that everyone is accepted to be a part of this course. We ask the commitment of you that's taking the course to be able to sustain this 6 weeks. Whether or not you can attend the classes live is not important, but that you commit to yourself the willingness to be able to go through all the processes for 6 weeks. And after the course has ended, in between of the worth you can give the course of what it has meant to you and your financial possibilities and capacities, we ask for a reciprocation. That is, it can be considered a harmonious give and take of what is being offered and what is being received. Also as a way to understand the importance of that flow that involves giving and receiving. Because sometimes for the mind, it's always very difficult to understand the value of some things, or is always very afraid of losing something. But part of the journey of growth is understanding that everything requires sort of a movement, kind of like nature. For a tree to grow, it requires the sun, the water, the soil, the nutrients. And as the tree receives this, it can bear its fruits and then generate from that other trees. So that's why we're calling it heart-based reciprocation. It's up to you what you give, but it's important to give something back. So I just wanted to share that to give clarity. The heart-based reciprocation system is not a donation. A donation per se is something different. This something you feel in your heart you want to give to support. And we do have a donation system for Sacred Wisdom School that helps us sustain the website, the videos, everything that entails doing this. We also have scholarships, so to speak. If you want to fund somebody else to attend the course, that is not able financially in that moment. That is part of donations as well. But the heart-based reciprocation involves that inner commitment of the journey of growth and that action of retribution for what has been received is not only symbolic, but it's also energetic. So I just wanted to give clarity of that system ahead of time, because it's something we feel very called to be able to sustain in the long run. But I feel it's important to be transparent and clear from the beginning. Another thing I wanted to share is the intention that was set within me when we were organizing the course that we have called Teachers of the Heart. And one of the most powerful things for me about becoming a teacher, being a teacher of this path of the heart is more way beyond what the mind understands as a teacher in a classroom setting, whether it's spiritual or whether it's face to face with others. We understand teaching as someone that has to take the role of teaching a class or teaching a course or teaching something when you become the holder of the wisdom or the knowledge and you're teaching it to others. In my experience and in my path, I have understood that teaching is something way beyond that. And that teaching in its sense becomes when you're an example or when you're an upholder of the wisdom and the knowledge that you carry within. Classroom environments and spaces like this are very powerful because the right knowledge can give us clarity, and clarity helps us move ahead. But in reality, for me, the best teachers are the people that lead in examples in day-to-day circumstances. So this course is not to make you a teacher per se, to teach some type of class that we are going to make you learn, but to get you to connect to your heart so deeply that that inner wisdom that lies within, that inner knowledge that is so accessible to us, that we just have to reconnect with it, becomes part of how you live your life. And being a teacher is kind of like moving into a space of self-mastery, because it's in your constant day-to-day actions, is in the situations that emerge around you, where you're able to rise in the highest conscious possible way for your nature. And that for me is what is the teachers of the heart, giving you the tools of what we have learned internally on how to really connect deeply with your being through your heart. And through that, be able to emerge as a teacher. A teacher can be a person in silence doing a compassionate response to a situation that is happening. And that response, because it comes deep from the heart, is what touches the people that are there in that moment. And it's what teaches other people. Sometimes that response may come through an answer, through an insight, through a hug, through whatever it, the action is not what is important, but the intention and that strong heart held space that we're able to sustain as we move through is what will make you, what I feel, is closest to the teachers of the heart that we're trying to help arise within each and every one of you. So, does anyone have any question as of now of what Doug taught on Sunday, of the exercises that you've been having? I keep reading all your sharings and your questions, and where you are, but I wanted to know if anyone needed any clarity about what was shared last Sunday. Yes, Marcy. Oh,
Hi, Prema.
hi.
Thank you. So what I noticed is that, and I may sound like a broken record, I'm not sure, but I'm crying all the time, and I don't know if I'm able to connect as a watcher or beyond a watcher, and doing my best, of course, and breathing and following what y'all have been teaching. And I don't know if there's anything that you can say to help. I just notice how much I'm more in my emotions than I am watching them. And I know this week was about watching, allowing and watching and allowing it to be okay. Not even doing the whole process, I don't think, of what I can remember, but maybe I'm just having a difficult time.
Mm-hmm. So thank you for that question, because that is very much connected with what I was feeling called to share today with all of you. So since nobody else raised their hands, and before we start the class officially, so to speak, I would ask that each and every one of you, we're just going to do a quick connection with everyone that is here. So I will ask if you can all please close your eyes just for a moment. And allow your body to inhale and exhale slowly and deeply. As you continue to inhale and exhale, in every exhalation, allow your body to relax physically if there is any tension. And softly and gently just place your awareness around the area of your spiritual heart or the center of your chest. And just simply inhale and exhale. Whatever arises, whatever emerges, allow it to pass through like a cloud, and just focus your attention in that space where the spiritual heart is. Inhale and exhale even deeper. softly and gently open your eyes. One of the most profound things that happens whenever we move our attention inwards, and this is it's a very tricky situation to navigate through. And I'm going to try my best to explain it in a way that it's comprehensible, but if I'm not able to do so, please raise your hand and ask a question, because it's very important that this is very clearly understood. This part of feeling and being in the heart and what happens when we're there, it has a lot of subtle notes. So the first exercise that Doug was sharing was simply about feeling, just that. And what does feeling mean? It means becoming aware of what is happening inside. Because the mind has a tendency to think that the way we are feeling in one moment, it's the way we have been feeling all the time. And it has a lot of stories that it tells us of why we're feeling the way we're feeling. For a lot of you, the exercise of listening to what's going inside yourself when someone else is speaking becomes a powerful discovery of how uncomfortable and difficult and particularly painful it is to be with another person. And it is to be with another person when we simply engage in listening, not intensely of what the person is saying, but what's going on inside of us. And there's a powerful reason for that. Because in the end, we are not able to see the other. It's very difficult to see the other. What we're seeing is a mirror of the things we don't want to see inside ourselves. So a lot of the natural response mechanisms, whether it's someone was sharing in the chat something along the lines that they felt that they wanted to yawn while they were hearing to somebody else. And that is a very natural response, getting bored. Because somehow that simple act of listening moves us into a place of inaction. And inaction seems very close to boredom. We should be doing something. We should be solving something. Or we can get angry with the other, or we can get upset with the other, or we can get sad and cry. Because when we're listening to the other, unconsciously what it happens is that whatever it is that it's unresolved inside of us begins to bubble up very fast. And it's so fast that it's very difficult to grasp. And the mind thinks, and here it's where it becomes very tricky. The mind thinks, if I'm able to see what is really going on, somehow I'm going to be able to solve how I'm feeling. Because there's an idea of how I'm feeling is wrong. It shouldn't be there. There should be another type of feeling. I should be feeling compassion, or I should be feeling joy, or I should be feeling happiness, or I should be feeling, this is a very powerful one for all the teachers. I should be feeling the eternal silence so the wisdom can emerge. And we try to strive to be in a different place than where we are. So the moment we see something inside that we don't like, we immediately start to resist that and want to change it, to make it go away. So if there's something that's causing us pain or suffering or tears or sadness or judgment, we become really tense with that, and we feel and think this is something that shouldn't be happening. There is something wrong with this. And we immediately go from here to here like that to start judging what is going on and to try to change it, to try to make it different, to try to do something that would make that go away. And the hardest thing about feeling is that it's not about making anything go away. The moment we start resisting what is there, the moment we're trying to push away whatever we're feeling, we become disconnected of everything that's going on inside. Because feeling is a moment to moment, is a breath to breath. Because it's not the same feeling every breath we take. When we're in the mind, because the mind tells a story, it feels like it's the same feeling, but it's not. Between a feeling and another feeling, between one breath and another, the mind has the capacity to assess the situation, label the situation, judge the situation, and find the problem that needs to be solved. And that can happen in 2 seconds. It doesn't need a long time. But it is so fast and so intense, and we are not used to having that depth of awareness. We are more caught up in the story because it's safer to be within the story than to be feeling what is going on. And with feeling, there is a very important distinction between feeling and the emotional expression of whatever is going on inside. An emotional expression is when the emotion arises and it's very intense and there is an expression of it. There is a physical expression, there is an energetic expression, there is an intense movement that happens. That is an emotional expression. Feeling in the context we're in is more the awareness that we can bring forth of what is going on. And there is a small, for me, there was a small shift that implied a very powerful change of perspective from the physical external manifestation of the emotion to moving to the grounds of feeling. And that small shift was the way I perceived what was going on. The mind labels it as, I am judgmental, I am rigid, I want to control everything, I try to dominate, I want to be right, I don't like this person is like that, this situation is wrong, this shouldn't happen. And when we engage into perceiving what is going on like that, we enter the realm of the mind and the quick self-judgment. And when there is self-judgment, there is always self-punishment. We start feeling that there's something wrong with us, that we shouldn't be this way, that we should be better, that we should be different. And when we are moving into this path of being teachers of the heart, if we are not aware of how that operates within, unconsciously, that is the way we will respond to the others. That is what we will offer. We may be speaking words of knowledge, but what comes behind it is something different. And I'm just going to make a random example just to try to explain this point. If you've ever dealt with someone that has any type of severe, let's call it a psychological diagnosis, someone that has severe depression, so to speak, and you're willing to be there to help that person, you want to hold space for that person. But if you have not had that chance to be self aware, to really know how the mind operates within and all the judgment that emerges and the stories and everything else, there are moments when you connect with this person that the mind starts saying, here we go. It's the same story. I've told this person many times what they need to do, how they need to perceive things, the exercise they need to do, the thing, and the mind starts beginning to distance from what is going on, engaging in the words, engaging in the story, but absolutely disconnected of what's happening inside. Because that frustration with the other, that judgment of the other, is the same thing we do with ourselves. And the thing is, if we don't become aware of that, that's what we naturally give. Even if the words don't match that emotion, we human beings, as social beings, we are not too concerned about the words. We are more concerned about how we feel. We are very sensitive and perceptive of how the other is feeling. Even if they say verbally, oh, I'm okay, oh, don't worry, we can feel when the other person is upset with us. We can feel where the other person is judging us. We can feel it, and it becomes like a very painful thing. It brings us to a place of insecurity, of pain, of self-doubt, of wondering what is wrong with me. So many things happen. But the thing is, we're so used to having the surviving device. Our floating surviving device is the mind and the stories and the judgments. That's how we have been able to thrive for so long. And if we don't discover how that operates within, if we don't take the plunge, and it sounds so simple, just to be in the heart and feel. It sounds like the most natural thing. Like we all have this amazing capacity to feel, because for the mind, I don't know about you, but for the way my mind operated for many years, feeling meant being in a positive, wonderful place. It meant somehow that I had achieved like a superhuman power, like the power of the heart. Everything is supposed to be love, and everything is supposed to be nice, and everything is supposed to be comfortable. And suddenly we are like, um, I was born and raised in Colombia, so we have a very strong, intense Catholic conditioning. We sort of become like saints, right? When nothing bothers you and nothing touches you, and we're just so close for animals and birds to come and sit next to you, because that's how much peace you have, right? When we say, oh yes, I feel you, but we don't understand really what feeling means. And there is something, this is a warning not to scare you, but to be clear about something. The condition of humanity as it is right now is intense pain and suffering. That means that 90% of the time you're engaging with somebody, you're going to feel their pain and then suffering. It's not going to be nice. It's not going to be a loving, sweet, and soft experience. But there is a reason for that. Because only when we're able to feel, only when we're able to open up the gates or where we're able to break down the walls we have built up in our hearts, and we're able to feel, compassion will emerge. True compassion, which is different than pity. Pity comes from the mind. Pity comes from saying, oh, poor you, right? Because it's not about poor you. When you feel, that experience makes you one with the other. All there is a wonderful quote, and he was called the silent saint. Even though he did teach a lot, he was most of the time quiet. It was an Indian saint and sage who's called Ramana Maharishi. And there is a beautiful quote that I love. Someone asked him, how do you treat others? And his answer was, there is no other. So that exercise of listening to somebody and starting to see what's happening inside, it's one of the most powerful tools that you will have to become one with the other. And from that place is where true grace and true wisdom and true compassion and higher things manifest, right? Is when we're able, the strongest motor in a human being is when they're able to perceive or feel the suffering in others, the need of the other, not the words, not what we think they need, not what we think they're going through, but to really open up and allow that to, I'm trying to find a different word, but I haven't, to penetrate you, to go inside of you, to allow that to touch you deeply. And trust me, it always feels like it's one thing. It always feels like the person needs one thing, or the solution is this thing, or what I'm feeling is this. And that's a trick of the mind, because it's so intense to hold the space to feel. That exercise that Doug is giving you to look at the candle for 7 minutes and just breathe. He keeps saying it is to keep the mind for daydreaming. And if you really do, what does this mean? And what I discovered when I started doing a practice like this is that there are moments that 7 minutes go like this. You think like a minute has gone by and already the 7 minutes are up. There are other moments that 7 minutes are like 7 minutes. And there are other moments that you keep opening your eyes and checking the clock because you think the time, there's something wrong with the timer. And the time doesn't seem to move, right? The experience of time changes with whatever is going on inside of us. If it's a pleasant emotion that we're having, it goes really fast and we really want to stay there. But when it is unpleasant, and unpleasant in the sense of whatever we feel shouldn't be there, whatever we feel should change, whatever we feel is wrong, whatever makes us uncomfortable, because vulnerability is one of the most scariest places that we have as humanity. We are taught to be strong, to be hard, to not cry, especially men, which, by the way, I'm so grateful and honored that men are here with us because it makes me feel that magical shifts are happening in humanity when men are being called and feel um, a movement to move into the heart, which is a very scary territory, even for women. But men are raised with very strong conditionings about not feeling, about being strong, about not crying, about not sharing, about doing, about action, that moving into this internal space, it's a wonderful thing for me. So I'm very grateful to all of the men that are here. Moving into that place of the heart, it seems very easy and simple because the mind does this trick. You close your eyes, you go into your heart. There is any uncomfortableness, let's say a judgment emerges and you catch it, right? And you say, oh, I just judged that. And then the mind says, okay, I did it, I just felt. That's feeling. Feeling, it's not naming what is happening. Naming what is happening is the first step into discovering how many things happen within you. But naming them, it's an activity of the mind. The mind labels and judges. It's not an activity of the heart. The heart just feels. Judgment is a very difficult thing to feel because one of the most common interconnections when judgment happens is guilt about judging. And when guilt happens after we've judged something, our obsessive compulsive personalities tend to emerge. How to stop this thing that I don't like? How to make this go away? This shouldn't be here. So I'm going to try to do this and I'm going to try to do that. And even using the breathing meditation or the candle meditation or any type of meditation or practice to make it go away. So all of these things are natural mechanisms we have because we all share the same mind that operates in its own particular way within us, but its structure is very much alike. That's why that statement of Ramana Maharishi that there is no other is so powerful. Because the moment we start feeling when someone is talking to us, it's so easy that we kind of become that person in that moment and we kind of start understanding why that person can behave the way they can behave or can do the things they can do. But that means that we have to break all the walls and all the ideas of separation of good or bad or how things are supposed to be. The other day, someone was sharing a quote their grandmother had. And it's something like along the lines of, you can never judge a person if you know their story. You can never not love a person if you know what they have been through. Because when you listen, when you feel, you understand, your heart opens, and there is no more of what there was before. But our natural tendency is not to listen. We listen to the words in the beginning. And if you do this exercise, maybe you have caught on to this now, but it took me a long time to realize that as the other person is talking, I'm having an own conversation of my own inside. Sometimes it derails from what the person is talking and it has nothing to do, and I'm just nodding, right? But I have no idea what the person is saying. Or there is another conversation, and this is a very particular characteristic of spiritual seekers. We are waiting for the other one to stop talking so we can tell them what we know. Because what we know is the truth. Even when we're taking courses like this, and I found myself saying the following: attending a spiritual course or a course for healing or something like that, and listening to the person that is teaching, and internally daydreaming that I'm actually attending this course not because I need to, but because my mom, my best friend, my partner, my neighbor, whoever it is, needs this information. And life has brought me here to share that information with that person. And in the end, the truth is if that other person needed that information, life would make them attend the course. That if we are in the course is because we are needing to hear what is being said. It's for us, it's not for the other. But for the mind, it's so easy to just do that separation. I'm good, I'm okay, I have these tools, I've read all these books. Even when another person is trying to teach us something or share something, the mind immediately goes, oh, I read that in that book. I heard something similar in another course I take. Yes, I already got this. I'm good. Right? But even in the context of this course, so to speak, because right now you're having the opportunity to listen to me and to do that exercise of what it is that happens inside of you as this woman in this little box is talking. Is there boredom there? Is there tiredness there? Is there judgment there? Is there resistance there? What is there? And it doesn't mean that is right or wrong. It's just becoming aware moment by moment about how that thing changes. Because there is something about, I'm going to say, I'm going to generalize, because I do feel as I continue to live every day, I get more and more and more closer to the experience that there is no other. I do feel we are more much alike and connected than what we think we are. But that means that there is an inherent resistance within to feel. And because there is a common shared fear that if I start feeling, that if I move into my heart, because there is sometimes this experience of something that is not pleasant or nice or sweet or wonderful. If I move into that, it will never go away. And so to speak, and it's a very common phrase, I don't want to move into whatever emotion, because I feel if I do, I will never come out of it. That's it's a natural response to feel that way. Because moving into feeling, it's like putting your hand in a fire. It's gonna burn. And the end of it is not to attain the tools so you can put your hand in the fire and it doesn't burn. Right? Because that's what the mind wants. What can I do to make the unpleasantness go away? But is to be able to feel what is going on and allow that feeling to emerge and run its course. Because every emotion is like every thought. It comes and goes, and it comes and goes, and it comes and goes. But when it comes and it touches something unpleasant, we just want it to go away right now. So we resist it so much that it just becomes bigger and bigger, and it amplifies and it amplifies and it amplifies until we feel we can't do this anymore, right? It's not working. This is not the right solution. There has to be something different. I have to do something to make this go away. But the biggest amplifier of any experience is the resistance to go through it. It's the unwillingness to really allow it to happen, not the emotional expression of it. And here it's where the breath and awareness takes a toll. Witnessing is not a tool to distance yourself from what is happening. Witnessing emerges when you are aware of what is going on inside. And that awareness in itself, and the way I speak about it in words, is anger is here now. Judgment is here now. This is here now. Instead of saying, I am angry or I am judgmental. Because the moment we express it that way, we believe that is our condition and that is who we are. And there is where we have to be very subtle and very careful. That is not who we are. That is what is there. So when we are feeling, right? When we open this space, feeling is opening up a space for something to emerge. Let's say you have a garden and you have a carrot garden, right? And there is a rabbit that keeps eating your carrots. So what do? You try to create a fence. And let's say that above the fence, we create 3 fences, and then we put roofs on top and try to make everything to make that rabbit don't eat your carrots. But carrots, even though they grow underneath the earth, their leaves need the sun to nurture what's inside of them as part of the process. So they need to have that light. Those carrots are like our heart space. And the mind builds all this protection, even better and better and better and better and better, to try to make anything that's not supposed to be there or that is wrong to be there. And having that willingness to understand that we need the sun, we need to feel, because it is our compass in life. Feeling, not the emotional expression, feeling. Feeling that brings forth the awareness of what is going on inside. So the moment we open a little bit and the sun comes in, there's a lot of things that can happen. And even that rabbit can go inside. The rabbit being the mind, right? And it can eat all your carrots if you leave it alone. So that means that whenever we're taking that time to feel, a lot of unwanted things can happen. And the mind doesn't like that. But taking the strength and the courage and the willingness to understand that it is better for sun to be there, that we can be there watching what is going on. And if we are present, we can do whatever it needs to be done, right? Even if it is understanding that you can give 3 carrots to the rabbit and make it go away. What happens in the heart is changing all the time. We feel with our minds. We are not used to feeling. We think feeling is the emotions, is that awareness of what is happening. And for me, it was very powerful to change it from I am angry to there is anger now. Because in reality, the statement there is anger now is more true to who we are than the statement I am angry. Because when you say I am angry, or I am judgmental, or I am this, or I am that, you're assuming that is who you are. And that is who you have always been. And that is not who you are or who you have always been. And when we say I am angry and I am judgmental, the mind immediately starts labeling everything around us. And this person is this person is that, their story is this, their story is that, and the solution is this or that. Right? And I just kind of need to wait until the other stops talking so I can tell them what they need to do. Even though none of us like being told what we should do, we still do it because we are grasped by the mind. Have I been able to share the subtleness of feeling? Like, what is the next step that you are about to take? Because what Doug was sharing on Sunday is first like opening that space. Like, what happens when I am with someone? What happens inside of me, right? And the mind is usually very quick to choose an emotion and make a story out of it and think, okay, I did my homework. I had never seen, I was so judgmental and I saw it today. And that is a first step. Realizing something that powerful, it's a strong first step. Because it's not only judgment that is there, it's so many things that are there. If you have the opportunity to listen to somebody speak for 5 minutes, which is not really a long time, we can watch a movie that it's an hour and a half long and be okay with it. But talking to somebody for 5 minutes can be very long. And if we do the exercise of listening to what the person is bringing up inside, you'll realize that in those 5 minutes, you've had more thoughts and emotions, and it feels like half an hour. It feels like such a long time, and it's only been 5 minutes. That space of feeling, it's very intense, because when you move into that, whatever it is that emerges, you're feeling it completely. And the deeper you go into that, the more intense that can become. And the more you practice this, the more you do the exercise of allowing your brain to reconnect into that capacity of awareness, that experience of witnessing what's going on emerges easier. But if we try to bring forth witnessing as an idea of, I have to gain to this place so I can separate from this and not feel this anymore, it won't work out. It doesn't resolve that way. The path of the heart is not about ending anything. It's not about finishing anything. And it's not about changing anything. And that is one of the most hardest, saddest, and incongruent things one can hear, especially in the spiritual path, where we have so much hopes about what it means to be in the heart. It means to be able to be as human as we can. And all the great teachers and saints and sages are really just profound examples of this. They could do what they do because of how much they could feel what the others were going through, not because of what they thought they should do. But it was that feeling of feeling the others, their pains, their needs. In our era, one of these magnificent examples is Mother Teresa, right? We all want to be like Mother Teresa. And we all feel that Mother Teresa was like a happy nun, kind of. And she had so much wisdom and how she could do the things you do. But if you read about her story, if you read about what she had to go through in her journey, it was very painful. She was from another country. She was living in a country that she did not understand. She was a nun in a private a private school for girls, for rich girls in India. And she was exposed to all this poverty around her. And that started to stir something up. And she started to feel a calling to actually help those people that were in so much suffering, even though she didn't belong, even though she didn't understand the culture, even though she didn't have the means. And her story of becoming Mother Teresa is more filled with obstacles and with pain, that this idea that we have that she was so special and so pure and so good, that it was so easy for her to do it. In our tradition, so to speak, of Catholic countries, a lot of our saints and sages, so to speak, are always deeply connected with people in suffering. Even if we look at the story of Jesus, he was always surrounded by normal people, by poor people, by people that were not supposed to be the elite. Because there is a profound resonance inside of the amount of pain and suffering. And when you feel that, there is a fire that gets ignited within ourselves, right? And everyone expresses it in a different way. Everyone has a different calling, has a different higher purpose. We are almost or already past 8 billion human beings. There is room for everybody. And whatever it is their heart calls. We are not all meant to be Mother Teresas. Mother Teresa already happened. We are meant to discover ourselves, and only through that we can emerge. But that discovery is very intense. And this aspect of feeling, the subtleness of it, of really learning about our own nature. Because if we want to teach in whatever way we feel called to do so, the ultimate knowledge we need to have is self-knowledge. It's the most powerful tool that we have as human beings. The mind thinks it's about acquiring external knowledge, reading more books, reading more things. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we don't look inside, if we don't have that space to discover our human nature, we will be here all the time, disconnected from everything and everyone. And we want to become whole. And the heart is a bridge that allows us to see moment to moment, because there's no moment that is the same. There is no one feeling. There is no one personality. There is not one truth. Nothing is permanent. Everything is changing. But having that intensity of moving to discover who we are and what happens moment to moment, it can feel boring and annoying, and that there's no purpose and that it should be different. But if we really allow ourselves to go through it, is the most transformational experience we can have. And it's the best possible way of growth. And it only happens with others. It only happens in our relationships, whatever they are. Because when we are alone on our own, it's very easy to believe the things we believe about ourselves. It's very easy to believe I am like this, I am like that. These are my qualities, these are my defects, this is my personality, this is who I am. When we are with other, all of that gets challenged all the time, because we realize we might not be as peaceful as we think, or as compassionate as we think, or as whatever as we think. We may realize we don't know who we are. And that is very disturbing from the mind, because the mind wants clarity and certainty and consistency. This is how I should be. This is how the world should be. This is how the president should be. This is how my neighbor should be. This is how my parents should have been. The mind has that, this is how it's supposed to be. And when you move into the realms of the heart, it's just this intensity of chain of emotions that are connected with thought. They're not disconnected from thought. So it's very important to understand emotions are part of the mind. They are not part of the heart. Feeling has nothing to do with emotions. Feeling is holding that space, that awareness that allows becoming aware of happening. It's a different thing. And for the mind, that is very scary. So the mind can use emotions as a way to distract from being aware. Because that place of uncertainty and eternal change is very scary. Does anyone has a question until now? Yes, Can.
Hi. So some of this is hard for me to grasp.
Yes.
So as usual, the mind is trying to say, well, what exactly is this? And well, what's the opposite of what I'm supposed to be doing? But then it just occurred to me, like an example came to mind, and I don't know if you can answer to this or not, but there was an experience I had where the fires that were going on in California, this place where they kept all the horses, they had to just open the gates and let them run free out because the fires were overwhelming. Well, I had this enormous emotion come over me of like crying and everything for the horses, and they must be so scared and where they're going. But at the same time, then the mind, I was like so angry at the people for just opening the gates and letting them go. The emotional part of me crying and feeling was that gates and just letting the horses go. Like I mean, I recognized that I was extremely upset, and I was very upset because I thought, you know, why are these people like letting the horses go? And I don't know. It just came to me that, well, maybe my sadness and everything was the feeling of the people who were opening the gates and how sad they felt to have to do that.
Mhm.
I don't know if that makes sense or not. I'm sorry.
No, it does. And thank you for putting that example, because it's an example that trying to talk about it, it can be so tricky. So thank you for bringing that up. So when something like that happens, right? And I'm going to use what you say to go a little bit deeper, but by any means, I'm trying to say that this is what was happening to you, right? But if we are faced with a situation that produces fear, frustration, right? That puts us into a place of, how can life be so unfair, right? Why are these things happening, right? And whenever we're faced with something that triggers that mix, because it's always a mix of emotions, of thoughts. How can people be so lacking compassion? How can they treat animals the way they do? How can they not find another solution to the problem? Don't they see the damage they can cause, right? Those can be, let's say that's the story, the mind is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. The thing about feeling is that every thought you have is accompanied by an emotion. How can they do that? Judgment. How can life be so unfair? Frustration. How can nobody take care of animals? Anger. And all of them start becoming so intense because they're so deeply connected. And they're so deeply connected with a lot of stuff that's happening inside of us that we are not aware in that moment. So whenever something external happens that touches that, all of that has been bubbled up inside comes out as a very intense emotional expression. By that, I don't mean we shouldn't cry. By that, I don't mean we shouldn't express how whatever is going on inside. We need to express it because we need to learn to discover how we feel, what we feel, how does it feel when I feel that, right? And the tricky part is to be able to come into a place of listening to the stories and the ideas and the things that are going on inside as you were listening to somebody else, as if it's not personal. That exercise of listening to the other, which means listening to what's going on inside yourself, is a step closer to listening to the mind, understanding this is how the mind works, not this is how I am. Because whenever the mind starts having these thoughts, this shouldn't be happening. How could they let this happen? I am so angry about this. I am enraged and I am sad and I am crying. Then the mind starts connecting because I like animals so much, because the horses has nobody to protect them. And I feel I have felt unprotected in situations in my life and I didn't like it. And we are the humans and we created the fires and we are damaging the world and blah, 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 blah. Right? And it's that blah, 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 blah that we get caught onto because we think those words and those sentences are true. And when we think they're true, we think that any emotion that comes with it is true as well, and it's who we are. And that is the tricky part, understanding that thoughts and emotions are connected. It's not that thoughts are here and emotions are here. Thoughts and emotions are both part of the brain chemistry, and the body just answers chemically to the signals the brain is providing in every moment. When we feel anger or scared, our adrenal glands start producing adrenaline and cortisol and the fight or flight mode. And there are several experiences that happen when we experience fear, when we experience anger, when we experience sadness, when we experience jealousy, when we experience all the range of emotions that are possible. There are physical chemical responses that happen. Discovering that we are neither the thoughts or the physical responses that are happening. We can be aware of them. And if the emotional expression comes, that's okay as well. But we can continue to be aware of what is happening as the emotional expression is going on. Right? Because we get so entangled in thinking that we are that emotional expression that we kind of become a victim to our own thoughts. And we think, oh, it's because this is how I am, right? Whatever that means. Whether it's a good thing because I'm so compassionate, or whether it's a bad thing because I'm so weak by some horses that are not even connected to me. However the mind perceives it in all the range and capacity that it can, and it can perceive it differently at different moments of the day, in different days of the month, and in different years. There's no constant. There's no reality to it. So the center of the thing is how to move into a place of feeling with awareness, right? Not feeling with the idea that feeling is the emotional expression. And the moment you connect those two, you're again in the realm of the mind, and you're absolutely disconnected again from what is going on inside of you. And when I say disconnected, it just means that you have lost the attention of being in the space of the heart. That means when you're listening to somebody else, you're caught up in the story you're telling yourself about the other person, and you have absolutely forgotten that there is a human being that's going through something in front of you, and that you're absolutely disconnected from that experience, which is usually the way we are all the time, because we're all the time thinking that we think we're feeling, because we name emotions. But it's something, it's so subtle to be able to move into a space of, that's why for me, the best tool I can share with you, what changed for me, was saying anger is here now. Not I am angry. Because when I say I am angry, all the stories start emerging. When I say this is here now, I understand that this is something that has emerged, that has a process, and in its own will fade. Yes, Sandy. Oh, I think Sandy wrote her question. She says, I have so much knowledge from all my years on my spiritual path. Now I'm taking this course and feel that I'm finally learning the wisdom that I need to put it all together. I have already progressed with my bipolar partner in being able to communicate with him, in actually listening and not feeling angry. short, wanting to withdraw, etc. from him. And in my change of awareness, I have realized he isn't so one doubt all the time. Thank you, Sandy, for sharing that, because that is very true and very close to what I've been trying to share. When you're able to move into that heart space and really listen and feel what's going on, you're going to realize that the person you think you have in front of you is not the way you think they are. They're not saying what you think they're saying. And they're not asking what you think they're asking. But moving into that space, and that is for Doug and I what makes the difference between a sharer of knowledge and a teacher. Someone that is able to move into that space of the heart and feel and allow whatever is happening in the moment to touch that person, so that from the heart they can respond. Not from the mind, not from the idea of how it's supposed to be, or what the other person is, or what the other person needs, or all those things that the mind always keeps saying. There is a small exercise I wanted to share with all of you about how to do this. And there is a natural instinct from the mind whenever we talk about these things to get either really bored or really annoyed. And if you're having that type of response by any chance, that's a really good response. If you're able to see that, that means that you're able to be a little bit more aware or in tune to what's really happening. Because usually the idea that we have to move inside and see what's going on inside ourselves to know something feels counterintuitive and wrong. Because we're supposed to have the answers to everything that happens externally. Because the mind doesn't want to be looked at. There's a natural resistance to it. There's a feeling that we're going to find something horrible and something bad. And that all those fears that we've carried for so many years in the end are true. That there's something that is wrong with us, that there is some type of shadow, there is the worst shadow that ever happens. There was somebody that recently was going through a very intense turmoil and was sharing their experience. And their experience was something along the lines that in witnessing what was going on inside of him was so intense that he felt that if the devil would come into the room, the devil wouldn't want to sit next to him. Right? Because of how many things were inside that he had never seen. Like he was going to scare the devil away. The devil did not want to have a relationship with me. Right? And that's a very common human fear. That's a very intense feeling of the mind. And it's very scary to take that plunge. It's easier to want to know everything externally. It's easier to want to address everything outside and find mathematical, perfect solutions that are outstandingly efficient every single time. And that doesn't work that way. Not really. There is a higher wisdom that it's available. There is a higher capacity we all have access to. The thing is, the gateway for that is the heart, and it's feeling, and it's scary. So I don't know if you've heard, there's a very ancient practice that is called Vipassana. It's a type of meditation that it's meant to make you become aware of many things. And Doug and I, for this course, we think that it's very powerful to do a heart vipassana, not the other vipassana, but a vipassana in the sense, a vipassana is a very intense, inactive meditation. In true form, in vipassana, you choose a physical posture to start the meditation in. And it's the same physical posture you have to sustain during the meditation all the time without changing it. And your attention should be focused on any sense of uncomfortableness or unpleasantness or difficulty that happens. And it's usually led in a 10-day retreat. They're usually very lenient during the first days while people get used to this. And as days passes, they become a little bit more strict about your posture and about the time you're supposed to do this. That type of meditation, if you feel called to practice it, can be very powerful because it will show you how the physical body, the mind, and the emotions are intrinsically connected, and how much the unpleasantness moves from one place to another, from one place to another. Just to share a small experience I had, I attended a Vipassana retreat many years ago. And I remember the first day, all I could feel was that I needed to scratch my head. When the meditation started, I saw a bug that I didn't like in the floor, and my mind immediately started thinking, what if that bug gets in my head? And suddenly there was a place in my head that I felt the bug was in, and I just wanted to scratch. And that was my whole first day of the Vipassana meditation. It was the most frustrating thing, and I wanted to leave, and I didn't like it. By the 10th day that I was there, I was in absolutely shock of how many things I could feel in a minute, in an hour, or in a day. And how there were so many things I didn't know I had inside. It was very freeing, but it was very intense. It took me like 3 years to really integrate all of that. And to be able to feel like, okay, I think I can do another one of those. Because it was very intense, right?
Had me chuckling so hard.
And when we talk about Vipassana of the heart, what does that mean? And this is the intention of this practice. Just like how we started in the beginning, it just involves breathing and putting your attention in this. I'm going to lower the camera a little bit, in this area, right? In the area of our spiritual heart, just putting the awareness there. And there will be thoughts, emotions, sensations, things that will pop and pop and pop. We're only going to do it for 7 minutes. And all these things are going to emerge. And our only task to move into feeling is to go through the breath. And when we inhale, we move your attention back. And when we exhale, you kind of relax your attention there. And the moment it moves away, you bring it back. And when it moves away, you bring it back. And when it moves away, you bring it back. That's kind of the Vipassana of the heart, of how to sustain the attention of no matter what is going on, to return to the heart space. Because the more we can enhance that capacity of attention, the more we have room to feel as to being aware of what is there, and allow what is there to happen. But your attention and your focus is to inhale, go, no matter what is going on, to inhale and go to the heart, and to exhale and relax. Even if you need to say to yourself, this is okay. This is okay. When you're relaxing internally, this is okay. Because there will be struggle, there will be resistance, there will be many things, even if there is nothing happening, even if we're experiencing nothingness, which is an experience, the mind thinks I should be experiencing something different. I didn't experience anything when I should have experienced something. We even resist the experience or the idea of nothingness. Yes, Gregory.
Hi. Is the ideal, not just that there is an ideal, but to uh, not label the experience that we have in the heart, because once it's labeled and named, it becomes more of the mind. And so it's more of just allowing the experience of it with as little naming as possible, which kind of reminds me, like when you say there is anger here, that's freeing. But even once you label it as anger, it's not necessarily the pure feeling, it's more of an emotion. Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Yes and no. And what do I mean by that? It's very difficult for the mind to be something different. The mind will label, right? For me, addressing it as there is anger here, there is a conscious choice of words that allows me to remember that anger is here, but I'm not angry, right? That is not who I am. For me, it's just like a key, or like better, like a light switch I can turn on, right? A little bit of higher consciousness to the experience of feeling, because we cannot turn off the mind at will. If we could, everyone would have done it by now. The mind is going to be the mind. The center of the exercise is no matter what is happening, whether it's a judgment, an emotion, a sensation, I mean, a judgment or a thought of the mind, a sensation of the physical body, or an emotion, which is from the emotional body that is connected to the mind body. Whatever is there, it doesn't matter. Whether judgment comes, guilt comes, shame comes, whether a different thought comes, that's not the point. The point is to bring the awareness back to that space of the heart, allowing whatever is there to happen, right? Whether it's the judgment, right? There's anger now. And the moment that happens, the natural instinct is, why am I angry about? Let's discover this. Let's move into the story of our day. What happened in our day that made me angry? And the mind will be very happy to share with you a million reasons why you should be angry right now. That's a very fast association we do. The vipassana of the heart means moving into, okay, that happened. I'm moving back into the heart space, right? Without trying to make it go away. It's like with the mind, I always make the example of making it like the radio when you're cooking or cleaning, right? The more you're focused on what you're cooking and what you're cleaning, the radio becomes a distant sound. And if maybe a song you like comes up, you can sing to it, but you can continue to clean, right? But if the song comes up and you absolutely forgot that you're cleaning, it means that you're absolutely unaware of what's happening. If the song comes up and you know you love it and you put the plates down and you enjoy it fully, it's a different experience with awareness, right? But what happens with us is that we're all the time jumping from one thing to another, getting lost. And that capacity to sustain attention in one place is not really that strong. So the vipassana of the heart, more than judging or labeling or having a focus into seeing what's going on, is to see it and kind of like let it be. You drop it in the sense that your full attention returns to this space. And whatever is there is happening, you allow it to happen. It's not forced anything. And it will change to something else, and it will change to something else, and it will move back and forth. But the idea is to sustain the attention in one place. It's kind of like returning home, right? Does that make sense, Gregory?
Yes, I think so. It definitely helps. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's 9:06. I don't want to take too much of your time. Susan, if you can write your question in the chat, but I want to move ahead with the exercise. We're going to do 7 minutes of this Vipassana of the heart, right? And it's just that movement of returning back to the heart space with whatever is going on inside. Okay? So please find a comfortable position. It doesn't have to be a rigid 7 minutes. It's not that type of Vipassana. Just find a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Start to inhale and exhale in a soft, gentle, and deep way. Allow your exhalation to be longer than your inhalation. And every time you exhale, allow the body to relax. So you're going to inhale. And you're going to exhale slowly and deeply. And allow your body to be comfortable with the exhalation. Each one of us and all of us together will take a strong intention to move into this practice of sustaining awareness in your heart. As you inhale, focus your awareness into the center of your chest. And as you exhale, sustain your awareness there and allow your body to relax. Whenever a thought arises, a sensation or an emotion, acknowledge its presence in the best way you can. But continue to hold your attention in the center of your heart. As you exhale, relax your body. If you find yourself entangled in thinking, in exploring sensations or emotions that are being expressed, allow that to be there. And gently, as you inhale, bring back your awareness to your spiritual heart. And as you exhale, allow any tension to be dissolved. If there is any extreme intensity in the thinking process, in the emotional expression or physical sensations, return to the slow breath and bring back your awareness to your spiritual heart. With the willingness to allow whatever is there to be there. But to consciously hold awareness in your heart. Allow yourself to inhale deeply and exhale gently. No matter what is there, bring back your attention to your spiritual heart space. As you inhale, And as you exhale, allow the body to relax. Take one last deep breath and slowly open your eyes. There is a powerful stillness that emerges when we are in the heart space and we slow our breath. The mind, the emotions, and the body start to function slower and gentler. I would invite you to practice this. If you feel called to do so, you can have the candle meditation as a way to begin your day, and this heart vipassana as a way to finish your day. To move deeper and deeper into discovering what being in the heart means and what does the space of feeling is like. Thank you so much for sharing with me your time and your courageous willingness to look within and to move forth and to grow and to share your light and your love with the world. So for that, I'm very grateful. I'll keep each and every one of you in my prayers during this process. I hope every one of you have a wonderful evening, and may each one of you and your loved ones be safe and held with love and compassion. Thank you so much. Namaste.